Today on Florence Manifest, we're going to talk about the hidden cost of living without discipline. There is a cost to everything. And for a woman without discipline, the cost is far greater than she realizes. It's not just about missed opportunities or wasted time. It's deeper than that. It's about the silent erosion of confidence, the slow decay of her potential, the invisible chains that bind her to a smaller life. Society has taught women to be emotional, to act on feeling, to move only when inspired. But the truth is, feeling isn't a strategy. And without structure, her brilliance scatters. Her power leaks. An undisciplined woman starts every week with big intentions, but ends every week in the same place. Tired, distracted, and disappointed. She is ruled by impulse, not intention. She scrolls instead of studying. She talks instead of acting. She thinks instead of moving. She reacts instead of leading. Her calendar is empty, but her mind is overwhelmed. Her mornings are chaotic. Her nights are restless. She says she wants more, but her habits show otherwise. And that's the hidden cost. She's not living the life she's capable of. She's not becoming the woman she was meant to be. Not because she's not smart, not because she's not worthy, but because she hasn't learned to lead herself. Discipline isn't punishment. It's power. And until a woman learns to lead her own time, her own mind, her own energy, the world will keep leading her into distraction. This is where everything begins, with a decision to choose discipline, to build structure, and to step out of chaos and into power. At first, an undisciplined life feels like freedom. No alarms, no pressure, no rules, just flow. She calls it listening to her body, trusting her intuition, or moving with the universe. And those ideas sound beautiful until they start to unravel. Because without structure, even the most spiritual life starts to drift. There's a subtle difference between flow and chaos. And most women don't see that line until they've already crossed it. One day, she feels inspired and full of energy. She writes. She creates. She dreams big. The next day, she sleeps in. She scrolls. She overthinks. She doubts. She calls it balance. But it's not balance. It's inconsistency masked as self-care. And soon, the things she promised herself she'd start tomorrow become the things she's been avoiding for months. The goals she once felt passionate about begin to feel too heavy, too far, too unrealistic. And quietly, without anyone noticing, she begins to shrink. Not because she's not capable, but because her life has no anchor, no rhythm, no container strong enough to hold her potential. That's the danger of freedom without form. It looks soft and feminine, but it slowly erodes her sense of self. Because even the most powerful woman can't trust herself if she never follows through on what she says she'll do. She feels it in her body, tense, tired, unmotivated. She feels it in her voice, unsure, hesitant, apologetic. She feels it in her relationships, where she gives more than she has, hoping someone else will fill in the structure she refuses to build. But structure doesn't come from outside. No one is coming to organize her life for her. No one is going to hand her a system, a plan, a schedule that magically works. She has to build it from within, one small decision at a time. And that's what most people never say. Discipline isn't cold. It's not harsh. It's not masculine or rigid or controlling. Discipline is what allows her to feel safe inside herself, to trust her word, to keep her promises, to become who she said she wanted to be. Freedom feels good in the moment. But discipline feels good long term. Because at the end of the week, she doesn't just feel better, she has results. At the end of the month, she's not just dreaming, she's progressing. At the end of the year, she's not just surviving, she's transforming. Not because she hustled, not because she was perfect, but because she decided to lead herself. And that decision, it changes everything. There's something no one tells you about becoming powerful. It's not about confidence. It's not about motivation. It's about trusting yourself. And self-trust is born through discipline. Because how can a woman trust herself if she's always breaking her own word? She says she'll wake up early, but hits snooze. She says she'll focus, but scrolls. She says this week will be different, but repeats the same habits as last week. And with every small promise broken, a message is sent. I can't count on me. It doesn't matter how smart she is, how spiritual, how ambitious. If she can't rely on her own follow-through, everything feels unstable. That's the real reason she feels anxious, lost, or disconnected. Not because she's weak, but because she's been operating without a system of self-leadership. Discipline changes that. Discipline is the decision to become someone she can count on. It's not about perfection. It's not about doing it all. It's about showing up, even when she doesn't feel like it. And with every act of follow-through, something shifts. She doesn't need to prove herself to anyone. She doesn't need external validation. Because her actions are her evidence, she starts to trust her own voice again. She starts to see that her word means something. Not just to others, but to herself. That trust becomes the foundation of real confidence, because confidence isn't, I believe I can. It's, I know I will. And that kind of knowing only comes through repetition, through structure, through discipline. A disciplined woman walks differently, not because her life is perfect, but because she knows she can depend on herself, no matter what. And in a world that's always trying to pull her in every direction, that kind of self-trust is her superpower. When people hear the word discipline, they think of restriction, of rigid routines, of no room to breathe. But the truth is, discipline creates space. Space to think, space to create, space to become. Because without structure, life becomes a blur of reaction, a series of scattered efforts and unfinished tasks, a constant cycle of starting over again and again. But with structure, she knows where her energy goes. She has boundaries. She has direction. She doesn't waste time wondering what to do next, because she's already decided. That's what most women don't realize. Discipline doesn't limit her freedom. It protects it. When her mornings are intentional, her days unfold with clarity. When her goals are on the calendar, they stop feeling like distant dreams. When her time has a rhythm, her mind finally has room to rest. That's what structure gives her, mental peace. Because she's no longer carrying the weight of everything she hasn't done. She's no longer overwhelmed by options or paralyzed by procrastination. She's in motion. She's in command. A disciplined life doesn't mean every hour is filled. It means every hour has a purpose. Even her rest is intentional. Even her silence is strategic. And the best part? She doesn't need to prove her worth by how busy she is. She's not hustling for approval. She's building a life that sustains her. Because when her energy is channeled into what truly matters, her brilliance has a place to shine. Structure isn't a prison. It's the container for her power. And once she learns to build that container, She stops shrinking to fit into the chaos. She expands to fill the life she was meant to lead. Here's the part no one talks about. Discipline doesn't just change your schedule, it changes your identity. Because every time a woman follows through, every time she wakes up when she said she would, shows up when no one's watching, honors a goal even when no one else cares, she's sending a message to her subconscious. I am the kind of woman who keeps her word. And that message, it rewires everything. Because discipline isn't about willpower, it's about alignment. It's about becoming the version of herself she's always admired from afar. Not the version who talks about change, but the one who lives it. The one who doesn't just write affirmations, but builds habits that match them. The one who doesn't just visualize her dream life, but takes small, consistent steps toward it every single day. This is how confidence is built. This is how self-respect is born. Because deep down, we all know we can't fake self-worth. We either earn our own respect or we lose it. And when a woman keeps betraying herself with distractions, delays, and excuses, she begins to doubt her own potential. But when she becomes disciplined, she starts to believe in herself again. Not because someone told her she's worthy, but because she's proving it to herself in the mirror of her actions. She walks differently. She speaks with more clarity. She doesn't shrink to be liked. She stands firm to be real. Discipline does that. It rebuilds what inconsistency destroyed. It gives her back the version of herself she lost along the way. And that version, she's not waiting to be rescued. She's not chasing approval. She's moving forward on her own terms, with grace, with power, and with a quiet knowing. She's finally becoming the woman she was meant to be. Every woman reaches a moment of truth, a quiet moment, where she realizes no one is coming to save her. No perfect plan will appear. No wave of motivation will suddenly carry her forward. It's just her and a decision. The decision to stop waiting, to stop wishing, to stop spinning in circles, and to start leading herself. That's how it begins, not with fireworks, but with a simple act of self-respect. Getting up when she said she would, showing up for herself when no one is watching, choosing progress over perfection again and again. Discipline is not about doing everything. It's about doing the things that matter even when it's hard, even when it's boring, even when no one is clapping. Because in those quiet, invisible moments, she becomes someone she can trust. And from that trust, everything grows. Her confidence, her clarity, her courage. This is the shift that changes her life. Not overnight, not all at once, but surely, steadily, powerfully. Discipline is not a punishment. It's a doorway to the life she's been dreaming of, to the woman she knows she can be, to the freedom that only consistency can create. So if you're standing in that moment now, if you're tired of starting over, tired of feeling scattered, tired of living beneath your potential, make the decision. Choose discipline. Choose direction. Choose you. And if this message spoke to something inside you, if you felt seen or reminded of your own strength, I invite you to stay on this journey with me. Subscribe to the channel. Let this be the space where you come back to yourself, where you remember your power, and where you commit again and again to becoming the woman you were always meant to be. This is just the beginning. Florence manifest.